Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. It is an absolute pleasure to be here this morning talking to you about the expansion and optimization of our Q-commerce business at the Co-op. We've used ArcGIS over the last 5 years in order to enable this. So this morning, Josh and myself are going to talk you through what that's meant. But before we start, we'd like to conduct a small survey. So please, hands up in the audience, who has heard of Q-commerce? Okay, there's about 4 people in the room who've heard of Q-commerce.
Okay, everyone, hands down. Second question, who here has used or maybe even heard of Uber Eats, Just Eat, or Deliveroo? Put your hands up.
Okay, it's about 97%.
Yeah, quite a lot more people. I think they have heard of Q-commerce.
Okay, I'm really glad you've all heard of Q-commerce. For the 3% of people in the room who haven't heard of it, Q-com, for short, for Q-commerce, is a rapid e-com delivery model that focuses on ultra-fast fulfillment, typically bringing orders to customers in about 20 minutes. At the Co-op, we use our existing network of stores as micro-fulfillment centers. So what that means is when customers place orders online, we use our stores to pick and pack those orders, hand them over to couriers, and then deliver them to customers' houses. We've got a dedicated team of Q-com experts at the Co-op who look after things like commercial, strategy, and operations. And this new part of our business has been hugely transformational in the way in which we're able to reach our members and customers.
At the Co-op, convenience and community are at the center of everything we do. A key part of our mission is to support British high streets by maintaining and growing our estate of 2,400 stores. However, we know that retail, like many other industries, is constantly evolving, as are the expectation of our 7 million members and millions of our customers. Every year, we see more and more people switching to omni-channel shopping, which is to say that they vary between visiting our stores and shopping online. This behavior presents a new, exciting digital geography. How many people can we now reach with our online channels? Where are our new online customers as well? And where do we see the overlap between in-store and online customer demographics?
Answering these inherently spatial questions has been absolutely crucial for us as we've grown this new aspect of our business. So in order to tell that story, I'd actually like to borrow Katie's time machine and go back to 2018, which was our first trial store. So our Q-com journey began just down the road from here on King's Road in Chelsea. We entered into a partnership with Deliveroo and together began to learn about and develop that emerging Q-com market in central London. We gradually grew over the next 18 months and started to really understand the crucial parts of this proposition. We developed our own platform, which is called shop.coop, and really began to learn and evolve, expand, and optimize with some spatial insights.
However, we had a challenge. All our catchments, which are the polygons we build to find the areas which we service, were managed manually in Google Maps, which I'm sure Ezra loving to hear about that today.
A few frowns when we did that in sound check yesterday.
But the thing is, it worked when we were small. But as soon as we pushed for scale, everything became much more complex. That's really where the challenge hit us. Manual catchment planning was slow and inconsistent. We had no reliable way to find delivery areas, avoid overlap between stores, or analyze catchment demographics. The bottom line is that spatial data and software processes that work for 10 or 100 stores weren't suitable at national scale. And with ambitions to potentially reach all of our stores, we needed a scalable, consistent, data-driven solution.
So, to unlock that scale, we turned to ArcGIS Pro, and specifically the Network Analyst plugin. We were able to import our stores as points onto a map, and then we used this Network Analyst plugin to run drive time and drive distance models. This enabled us to build the catchments that Josh was just talking about for every single store. We then exported these as strings of coordinates into our backend system and set up our delivery network. This also meant that we had a bird's eye view of the entire delivery network across the UK, which we published to a co-op-wide ArcGIS online web application. Meaning, for the very first time, teams across the business, regardless of whether they were in the field or in the support center like Josh and myself, could access those maps whenever they needed. And what was amazing is that whole transition from Google Maps over into ArcGIS took a matter of weeks. with the support and intelligence and, to be honest, patience of our friends in Co-op Property who'd be using GIS for years.
And the impact on efficiency was huge. Processes that once took 2 weeks, like building catchments for 50 stores, now literally just takes a couple of hours. It was a transformational change in the way in which we expand and optimize our Q-commerce network, which ultimately means we're able to reach more people at a greater pace, and speed is crucial in Q-commerce. I mean, the clue's in the name, right? This increased efficiency enabled our teams to begin to delve into spatial analysis to really understand our customers and our business. So every store's delivery area is now data-driven. With every store, we were able to start using demographics, population density, and competitor insights to make decisions for that store, all visualized on our digital maps and communicated to stakeholders across the business. We are now able to analyze the catchments and performance of all the stores, 1,000 stores, all at once.
As Josh has just said, speed is absolutely crucial in quick commerce, but so is convenience. And convenience means very different things to different people, depending where they are in the world. For the residents of the islands of Rum, Egg, Canna and Muck off the west coast of Scotland, access to groceries was a continuous challenge. They were frequently placing click and collect orders at our Mallaig store, which is on the mainland, traveling via boat to pick them up, and then traveling back to the islands. This round trip took hours and hours every single week just to access groceries. So, last year, we started to work with those very same customers and our colleagues in Mallaig to develop a new solution. We used spatial insights to find out information about things like settlement density, population locations, and even ferry ports. The solution we created was to work with a local ferry company to create points on a map which were ferry terminals, and then deliver via boat to some of these off-islands. The catchments you can see now on the screen in blue are the polygons that we were able to create in ArcGIS in order to build this proposition out. We're really proud that not just the residents of Rum, Egg, Canna and Muck off the coast of Mallaig can now access Q-commerce, but also people who live on the Isles of Scilly in the English Channel, as well as Lerwick and Kirkwall on the north coast of Scotland. Q-commerce means something different to different people depending on where you are in the country, but we're really, really proud that in some of the most remote corners of the UK, people can still access our services.
Regardless of location, when we are deciding whether to launch Q-commerce in a new store, we now use ArcGIS to give us a layered, evidence-based decision framework. Using ArcGIS Pro and the Esri Living Atlas, we combine population insights, infrastructure networks, and travel patterns into one clear picture. And remember, a crucial part of our promise to our customers is that they can receive their delivery in as little as 20 minutes. We use drive time data and traffic modeling in ArcGIS Pro to achieve this proposition with real data and insight. For example, our network modeling now includes isochrome catchments, which is just a fancy way of saying the catchments change throughout the day. This is a key part of our business, helping to communicate the benefit of continuing to trade Q-commerce into the night. This late night trade has helped us reach more customers, from night shift workers needing an energy drink and some snacks, to students placing orders at 2 a.m. during freshers.
Quite a few Co-op pizzas in those orders, I can tell you.
Definitely. I'm one of them, I think.
As we've matured, we've also built web apps using ArcGIS Online and Experience Builder, tools which have allowed 50 teams and thousands of colleagues to collaborate through spatial insight. And the cultural shift has been huge. Location data is now not only used at a store level, but a regional level and even a board level. It has become embedded in how we make decisions about our Q-commerce strategy across the business. These web apps support things like store closures, temporary refits, and catchment adjustments. So what does that mean? Well, in practice, when we need to close a store for something like a refit, we're able to use the drive time feature of Network Analyst to reassign those delivery networks. That means we can enable our customers to still use our services and make sure we do so in a speedy and cost-efficient way. All of this has enabled QCom to scale nationally. We grew from roughly 200 stores in 2022 to more than 1,700 stores as of today. For those of you who haven't done the maths yet, maybe you're still thinking about Mark's reference to Pythagoras this morning. That's the equivalent of launching a store every single day for the last 4 years. Our network has continued to expand through our incredible partnerships with Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Just Eat, and more recently, Amazon MFG. And our own platform, shop.coop, has become a fully fledged delivery network in its own right, with a distinctively co-op feel. Crucially, we've used ArcGIS in order to enable this change in a commercially viable way. And the great news is that today, our QCOM network reaches 90% of the UK population in as little as 20 minutes. We feel like we've come quite a long way from Chelsea Kings Road.
And commercially, the results have been incredibly strong. On average, Q-commerce has driven a 12% uplift in store sales. One West Midlands store now generates over half of its sales through Q-commerce alone. Not only that, across the UK, it is driving volume and spend back into our high street. We're proud that Q-commerce is now an integrated part of the overall Co-op Group strategy. And the spatial data that we use every day through ArcGIS is fundamental in making that happen.
We've done a lot, but we know that we can't stand still. Looking ahead, convenience and community remain at the heart of what we stand for at the Co-op. We're continuing to explore how QCOM and location intelligence can continue to play a role in revitalising our high streets by driving that spend back into our stores as micro-fulfillment centres and continuing to support communities. As many of you in this room will be able to appreciate, especially if you work in retail, these things evolve at a really, really fast pace. They always have, and they always will. So in 10 years' time, if we're invited back, there's every chance that Josh and I will be stood on this stage talking to you about grocery deliveries via drone, it's already happening by the way, or even autonomous vehicles like Waymo bringing you weekly food shop. What will remain consistent, however, is that as these geographies and topographies and technologies change, our understanding of spatial science, everything, everywhere, is absolutely crucial.
The foundational importance of using spatial data to understand our world will remain consistent. For us, it's now a crucial aspect in the way in which we're able to reach and understand our customers and members and continue to grow at the Co-op.
And we believe that this is the same for all of us, not Josh and I and our colleagues and friends at the Co-op, but everybody in this room. Everybody in this room works for an organisation that is on some form of transformational journey. And using spatial data, whether you do so in a commercial setting like us, is a key part of understanding and charting that path. At the Co-op, it's not only enabled us to solve some of these more technical problems that we've spoken about, but actually it's changed the culture and it's enabled us to shift mindsets and bring colleagues along with us on that journey. So we really hope that our story inspires you to maybe think a little bit differently about the ways in which spatial data can be used in your organisation. So all that's left to say is thank you very, very much for your attention this morning. Please enjoy the rest of the conference. And don't forget, whether you're shopping with your fingers or your feet, don't forget to shop at the Co-op. Thank you very much.